Would you believe me if I told you there was $500 million lost in our own backyards? Or would you say I'm bugging, as always? The video presented today, I apologize on behalf of my speech. It was before speech classes. Also, it was recorded off another cell phone, considering any data that was retrieved from Parla is unable to be sent on a cell phone. So I had to record it off another device with a device. Bear with me, a little story time if you're interested to hear a little bit more about the $1 billion right in our own backyard.
These are guys who may not have been jewel thieves or museum, whatever you want to call them, not the stereotypical type you'd usually see. But one thing I can say, they didn't do too bad of a job. Half their time was unaccounted for, and they knew how to move around motion detectors. And this glass painting right here, somehow they got it off the wall without setting off a single motion detector. They were in there for 80 minutes, 40 minutes were unaccounted for. This last painting's worth $500 million, and the frame, it wasn't left on the floor. No, for this very special painting, they had a better idea. They didn't leave the frame on the floor, they left it right on his desk, in his chair in his office. So the next morning when he comes into work and sees that the painting's gone, they can know that they were watching him. If you read a lot of the news reports, you'll find it funny. Clearly, whoever robbed the museum had no idea about the price of the actual artwork, considering they walked by a lot more valuable items and just grabbed random things anyways. There's a lot of speculation about it being in our own backyards up in Plymouth. And some even say it was the work of the Irish mob, really just letting the Italians know who run the show. Whispers that the art was taken out of the country and it's up in Ireland. Even rumors that David Hutchinson was Bobby Donati's twin brother. Connors grew up with Bobby and David. A lot of speculation and connections that add to a lot of different things that we could talk about in a later video. But as of right now, that artwork's still lost and still out there. So stay aware. It's been 30 years since anyone's seen those paintings, and today they're worth well over $1 billion. Connors even claimed Bobby took a goo vase, knowing that it was something they both liked, but the eagle on top of the flag of the 1st Regiment of the Napoleon Imperial Guard dating back to 1813 to 1814 is what caught young Bobby Donati's eye. East Boston, 1940. Bobby Donati was born. And he lived quite a fascinating life. By 1958, he was associated with the Patriarca family, Rayman Patriarca. We'll talk more about him later. Right now, it's about Bobby Donati. His criminal career started at a young age. At 17, he was incarcerated in Deer Island, and he broke out of prison, which didn't last very long. It was only like 40 minutes. But, Bobby was always thinking outside the box. Now, Bobby, when he gets out of prison, he goes back to same old. He's talking to his friends. He's back on the block. Now, the Patriarca family and Bobby became associated through a mutual friend, Connors. Connors grew up with Bobby, and they became, good friends, just growing up together. Now, when they were younger, they robbed 6 pieces of valuable art from an estate in Maine. And I'm not really going to get too much into detail on that because it was trial and error. They're gonna get the money so they can get them out of jail. Everyone knows the game plan, and there's no time to waste. So one St. Patrick's Day in March of 1990, 2 men, there were 3 accomplices on the security camera footages, but 2 men were the ones who were walked in dressed as police officers. And now, here's where a lot of people think the story gets hazy and doesn't make much sense. So about it, just really no one. Now, the paintings that were stolen were not the paintings that Rayman requested. They it was all outside the box. It was not supposed to happen on St. Patrick's Day, but like I said, it was St. Patrick's Day, so yeah, you know what they're doing on St. Patrick's Day. But these are like mobsters, mafia guys out here, like French jewel thieves. Like, they were doing the best they could, and it was a spur in the moment thing that made no sense to anyone. The paintings that were stolen were as followed. This is how I remember them, and I remember them by the remembrance, because that was one of the things that were stolen. It's the concert, Storm in the Sea, Dega, Manet, Flink, Final Vu, Eagle. And that's goo, not vu, but goo, vu. Like, poof, gone. And, by the names of them, you should be able to tell they are all French and Dutch paintings, not the Italian artwork that was requested. Now, again, this was St. Patty's Day. Did they mess up? Did it just not go as planned? Was this all just a spur of the moment kind of thing? Well, no one really had any idea. No one really knew what happened. Now, Bobby Donati, they claimed that they don't even know who robbed the museum. But you see, you remember that eagle that I mentioned at the end? After the goo, final goo, the eagle? Yeah. So, that was something that from childhood, Connors knew that Bobby Donati always wanted and had his eye on. And there was really no reason to take it. Well, later it turned out to be one of the most valuable things that they're looking for. But at the time, again, this wasn't part of the plan, but it was almost a signature thing left behind by Bobby that he didn't mean to leave behind. Now, when the eagle was taken, Connors knew that it was Donati Bobby, and he knew Bobby Donati did it. He knew that Hughes did it. And now, this is September 1991. Bobby Donati, 51 years old, was found dead, beaten in the back of a Cadillac DeVal in Revere, Massachusetts. Now, see, this is where it gets a little strange. He was beaten, he was stabbed on his front porch, then thrown in the back of a caddy. And I just don't think that was the Patriarca style. They were real classy mobsters. The murder was real messy and just gruesome even. No suspects were ever apprehended. No one was found. It was a cold case. No artwork was ever recovered. And to this day, it's a $1 million reward back in the 90s. Then it was raised up in I think 2005 to like $5 million. It's up to $10 million today, which is the most that they've ever asked. Statute of limitations is up though, so they can sell that artwork and do whatever they want with it at this point. But again, where did it go? So like I mentioned, Bobby Donati, he was beaten, he was murdered. Hughes, he died of a heart attack a year later. So by 1992, they're both dead. The Patriarca family, I mean, hey, maybe they got the art, maybe they didn't. Maybe he was protecting it, but again, didn't seem like their style. So then Hughes dying of a heart attack, Connors gets out of prison after his term's up. He still has no idea. I mean, hey, maybe he does. But to this day, that artwork has never been found. For all we know, it's floating around in our own backyards, wrapped up in one of our frickin' attics on one of our grandpa's crazy stories from back in the day. Who knows? But it's an interesting story. It's the story of 28 Fenway, Boston, Massachusetts. I just spotted the museum if you ever want to go check it out. The empty frames still stand to this day, waiting to be replaced or, set back to where they go, if they're ever found. But you know how those stories go. I think they took that one to the grave. Thank you.